My wife cheated with my employee and confidently walked into divorce court, convinced she was taking half my fortune. But one sentence from my lawyer turned her victory into a nightmare she'll never escape. Hello Reddit I plus here. My name is Ethan Marlowe. I'm 33 years old, and this is the story of how my wife thought she had me wrapped around her little finger, until my lawyer spoke one sentence that destroyed everything she was scheming for. The funny thing about betrayal is, it's quiet. It doesn't sound like glass shattering or doors slamming. It comes in silence, in the smallest flicker of something being off. For me, that crack appeared in a hotel room in Chicago. I was there for a tech expo, pitching new investors for my business. Back home, I had my nightly video call with my wife, Madeline, 28. She was lounging on our bed in my old hoodie, messy bun, smiling like the perfect loving partner. But then, in the reflection of the mirror behind her, I caught it. A man's silhouette, shirtless, casual, like he belonged there. My blood went ice cold, and then he walked fully across the reflection. It was Noah, one of my employees, the same guy I had hired 2 years earlier, the guy who'd been nothing but charm and charisma, flirting shamelessly with customers and, apparently, with my wife. And she just kept smiling into the camera, like nothing was wrong, like she hadn't just detonated my life with one reflection. So I smiled back. Smiled while I hit record. Smiled while I started planning the quietest, most devastating revenge she'd never see coming. I wasn't always like this. Cold. Calculated. I built my life on discipline. At 21, I founded Marlowe Esports Arena, a hybrid gaming lounge and cafe. By 25, I was profitable. By 30, I had expanded into 3 locations. My days were a cycle. Work, gym, sleep, repeat. Madeline waltzed into that routine like chaos wrapped in silk. She was 24, an art major with wild curls and eyes that looked like they'd seen every indie film on Netflix twice. She wasn't loud, not like her friends, who came to my lounge more for Instagram photos than games. She was quiet, watchful, a bubble tea in her hand, sketchbook on her lap, hoodie pulled up. I asked her out. She said yes without hesitation. She talked about horoscopes, about fashion as rebellion, about how socks never matching was a sign of individuality. Half of what she said didn't make sense to me, but I wasn't bored. For the first time in years, I wasn't bored. So when she said she wanted to be with me forever, I believed her. I married her in a courthouse wedding with just 2 witnesses. Looking back, that secret wedding wasn't intimacy. It was camouflage. Secrets are easy to bury when no one is looking. Noah, 27, was my head barista, handsome in the fake deep kind of way. The type who read Nietzsche, but only posted the quotes he understood. Customers loved him, but I never fully trusted him. He flirted with everyone, my wife included. Compliments like, "You're glowing today," or "Your energy is magnetic." I warned him once. He brushed it off with that smirk. Madeline defended him. "You're just jealous, Ethan. He's harmless. You're too logical to understand people like him." She made me feel like the boring, controlling husband, so I shut my mouth. And then came that video call in Chicago. Noah, shirtless, in my bedroom, while my wife played loving partner on the screen. I didn't confront her. I didn't explode. People like them feed on drama. Confrontation is a stage. Silence is a weapon. I cut the call. I sat in the dark with the hotel AC humming, replaying the recording over and over until my anger turned to ice. I wasn't going to scream. I was going to dismantle her life piece by piece. The next morning, I called my best friend, Ryan, a cybersecurity analyst. He was my war room partner. Together, we traced everything. Her location history? She wasn't at her late-night studio sessions. She was at Noah's dingy apartment, like clockwork. Her files? She had a folder labeled Vision Board. Inside, a 5-year plan. It included seed funding $150,000 from angel investor, husband. I wasn't a partner. I was a walking ATM in her plan. Worse, Ryan found her portfolio. The designs she bragged about? Stolen. Screenshotted from indie designers on Instagram, slightly tweaked and passed off as hers. That was my weapon. She wasn't just a cheater, she was a fraud. I didn't blow up her world immediately. I starved it slowly. Bank accounts. I drained our joint account with quiet daily transfers into my LLC. Froze the rest with a fraud alert. Apartment. Lease was in my name only. I had a 30-day eviction notice ready, notarized. Cards. Her business credit card tied to my account. Cancelled. Within 48 hours, her financial oxygen was gone. But money wasn't her love. Ambition was. Ryan and I created a fake international fashion competition. The Verve Collective. Slick website. Fake judges. A $25,000 grant. As predicted, she submitted her portfolio. plagiarized designs and all. We sent the evidence, side-by-side comparisons, to her university dean, to fashion blogs, and to the original designers she stole from. The fallout was nuclear. She was expelled, blacklisted online. Her social media turned into a firing squad of angry comments. I handled him quietly, called him into my office, presented a folder, his late arrivals, complaints, security footage timestamp showing him entering my apartment during work hours. I fired him on the spot, gave neutral but damagingly factual references to every cafe owner I knew. He's untouchable in the local scene now. Just when I thought it was over, her mother called. Through sobs, she revealed something chilling. Madeline told them she already had a contract for my investment in her brand. I dug deeper, found the draft in her files. It wasn't seed money, it was a loan against my business. If she defaulted, I'd lose everything. She wouldn't lose a dime. The cheating, that wasn't the main betrayal. That was just how she entertained herself while waiting to gut me financially. Weeks later, after her downfall, she texted me, "I know I don't deserve it, but can we talk? Please." I agreed, for closure. At the cafe, she looked hollow. She cried about mistakes, about losing everything. I slid my phone across the table. On it, her drafted contract. "This wasn't a mistake," I said coldly. "This was your plan. To bleed me dry, then leave." Her face crumbled. Not with guilt, but with the shock of realizing I had beaten her at her own game. "Who told you?" she whispered. "You did," I said. "You were so busy performing your role. You never noticed I was reading the script." And then I stood up, walked out, never looked back. The world is quiet again, not the silence of betrayal, but the silence of balance. Madeline is back at her parents', living off their pity. Noah is unemployed, and me, I still have my business, my future, my peace. Because when my lawyer finally filed for divorce, he said the one sentence that ended it all: "Everything remains Ethan's. She gets nothing." And that silence was louder than any revenge. Winning doesn't always feel like victory at first. After the divorce was finalized, people congratulated me, told me I was lucky to have escaped. But late at night, when the cafe was closed and the world was still, the silence pressed in on me. It wasn't grief. It was the phantom ache of wasted years, realizing how much of myself I had poured into someone who only saw me as a bank account. Ryan noticed. One night over beers, he said, "You know what, man? You've been running on revenge fuel for months. But now, you're empty. Time to build something for you again." He was right. So I shifted gears, expanded my business. Not because I needed to prove something, but because I wanted to. I opened a 4th location in Austin. I started speaking at expos. I poured myself into work. But this time, I left room for things I'd abandoned before. Sketching, hiking, cooking actual meals instead of takeout. Madeline had turned life into war. Now, I was relearning peace. 6 months later, she came back. It was a Sunday morning. My cafe was busy with students and gamers, sunlight slanting across the polished floors. And then she walked in. Madeline, in oversized sunglasses, hair duller than I remembered, carrying herself like a ghost of the girl I once married. For a moment, it was like seeing a stranger wearing her skin. She waited until I was alone behind the counter before approaching. "Ethan, please, can we talk?" I should have ignored her, but part of me wanted to hear what she'd say when there was nothing left for her to take. We sat. Her hands trembled as she wrapped them around a coffee cup she couldn't afford anymore. "I made mistakes," she said, voice cracking. "I thought I could outsmart everyone. I thought you'd always forgive me. I don't want money, I cut her off with a calmness that scared even me. "You don't want me, Madeline. You want the man you thought I was, the one who would bend, who would bankroll your illusions. That man doesn't exist anymore." Tears welled in her eyes. "But I loved you." I leaned back, shaking my head. You loved what I gave you, and when that ran out, so did you." For once, she had no performance to hide behind. She just sat there, broken, while life in the cafe moved on around us. I stood, placed a 20 on the table. "That's for the coffee. Don't come back here again." And then I left her behind, again. Freedom didn't come from crushing her. It came from walking away. A year later, my company had doubled in value. I had a team I trusted, a circle of friends who knew the whole story, and peace in my own head. When people asked about my ex, I didn't spit venom anymore. I just shrugged. She taught me the cost of not paying attention, and the value of silence. Madeline's name faded from conversations. Noah's too. They were just background characters in the story of my rise. The real story was me. If betrayal is silence, then healing is too. It doesn't come with a bang. It comes slowly in the quiet moments where you realize the storm has passed, and you're still standing. And that, being able to stand on my own again, was louder than any revenge.